And good morning and welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I'm Ken Walls and I am your host. And man, I tell you, I think I may have my new best friend on as a guest today. We've been talking for a while. This guy is freaking unbelievable. So I want to welcome to the show Mr. Craig Lockard. Craig, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, Ken. And you're right. I was thinking about the same thing. It's like, wow, man, it's amazing all the similarities that we didn't know. And it's like, God, this guy's awesome. It's like, it's just so weird. It's one thing after another. It's
I know, man. It's crazy. I'm sitting here going, holy crap. I didn't know. Like, I'd have been out in Jersey hanging out with you if I knew all that.
Right. So, we should probably check our genealogy. We could be related. I don't know.
Well, you're from Ohio, dude. So
right.
am I, right?
Right.
So, as I told you, I created this show to help people, right? It's a way of it's my way of kind of giving back to the world. I've been very blessed in life, and so I want to help people, and I think that our whenever you can hear another person's story about how they hit a wall or they, and they got stuck and figured out a way to break through it, I think that's helpful, right?
Couldn't agree more.
So
you're 100% right. Let's
start out with telling everybody, who you are, where you were born and raised.
Okay. This is probably pretty inappropriate, but I'm 67 years old, so I get to say inappropriate stuff now, I think. But when you ask me that, I'm reminded of a scene from the movie The Jerk with Steve Martin. Yeah. I was born a poor black child.
Dude, I swear to God, I got to stop you, man. Here, listen.
What?
See, the similarities keep piling up, man. I swear somebody asked me to speak at a conference in Atlanta, Georgia, where I was going to be one of the only white dudes there. And I told her, I said, I'm going to start my speech with Steve Martin. I swear to God, I was going to say, but then I thought, man, I'll get, booed off the stage or something there. Sorry, go ahead, dude. That's hilarious, man.
Well, so let's see. I'm an only child. My dad started in the car business in 1950, and he bought a little used car lot. And when I was born, he called it Craig Auto Sales. And through my whole life, I was born and raised on a farm on the far east side of Cleveland, Ohio, out in Geauga County, the snow belt.
Yeah.
And I mean like a real farm.
Yeah.
And, I literally would ride my horse to school sometimes when the buses couldn't get us to school. But, my dad was in the car business, and, it was an absolute front of mind thought of mine that I will never, ever be in the car business. My dad would get home at 10 o'clock at night. I never saw him. He'd never go to my games and this, all that, boo-hoo stuff.
Yeah.
And, so my parents got divorced, and again, boo-hoo. But I ended up I flunked out of Ohio University. I went to OU for a while. Then I went to Kent State. Same thing. So then my dad finally, he said, "You're going to a school up in Michigan." Oops, I said the M word. Sorry.
Yeah, not this week.
Right. It's a school up north, and I stayed up north, and I ended up at Northwood Institute for a year.
Wow.
And but I'm there with all these like bazillionaire. I mean, these guys are getting like 2 demos a year and stuff, and I'm driving around in a 1960 Buick, so it's a little out of the water. But I got a taste for the car business and the people in it. So my dad owned at the time in the 60s, he owned a single point Plymouth dealership in Canton, Ohio. Mm-hmm. So I ended up, starting in the wash bay. My first day, Ken, true story, I'm there 2 hours, and we got a new car delivery, a 1973 Plymouth Gold Duster. So we're out of rags. The guy I worked with, he's drunk at 10 o'clock in the morning. There's no towels. So I go to the parts counter. I said, dude, I need some towels. Well, we don't have any. I'm going to play the dealer's kid, right?
Yeah.
So I'm smashing on the parts counter. Come on, let's go. Chop, chop. I want to, So we're by the Timken roller bearing plant, and they provided us with all those blue shop rags.
Yep.
So I get 2 big handsfuls, and I'm like a human buffing machine. Like, I'm going to be the best detailer, car wash lot boy in the world, right?
Right.
So I'm like 2 hands, and I'm all over this car. Bring it out, put it in the delivery area. All of a sudden, I hear this screaming and my name being paged. I come up. Well, in these shop rags were little ball bearing shavings.
Oh, no.
Basically took most of the paint job off the car.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So I'm there 2 hours. My dad fires me. My mother calls him the next day, said, look, we know he's a knucklehead. Just give him isn't there something else you can do? So then they had me run parts. They put me in the body. They tried to hide me anywhere they could. So, my hair was down to my shoulders, and I was a complete maniac. So one day I come into work, and by that time I had become a service advisor.
Yeah.
My dad would not let somebody sell cars. He said, "You're a circus clown. You can't sell cars."
Oh my God.
So I walk into the service department. Service manager says, "Hey, you got to go up front." I said, "What for?" He said, "You got to go up front right now." I go up front, and there's a bunch of guys in suits there. I said, "Who are you guys?" They said, "Well, who are you?" I said, "Well, dead." "Well, not anymore. You're not."
There was. So hold
Unbeknownst
on.
to me,
you broke up. What
my
was
dad.
it? You broke up again. Who was it?
So, it was a bunch of guys in suits, and I said, "Who are you?" And they said, "We're the new owners."
Oh, okay.
And I didn't, my dad never ran it by me like I'm going to sell the store.
Right.
So I walk in there, and it's like, what up? And they said, "Well, where do you work?" I said, "I'm a service advisor." They said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to sell cars." So I started selling cars for the new owners at my dad's old dealership.
Did you really?
Yeah. which was pretty interesting. But
how old were you?
I was 23 or 24 at the time. I've been in the car business. It was 45 years this past summer.
And you're 67?
Yes, sir.
Jeez, man. You don't look 67 at all. Not even close.
Yeah. Well, 25 years ago, I stopped doing some things that was aging me. So I think I'm reverting backwards a little bit.
Dude, I'm 50 years old. That makes you old enough to be my dad.
That's right. Well, all right. Hey, I got 2 sons. I could use a third.
Oh, I'm just playing. Wow, man. That blows my mind. So you've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, this will be, and I don't know how many people can relate to this, but when I first started selling cars, our phones were speaker phones, and there was a button underneath our desk. So when we left the customer, it was wired into the manager's office. So we'd flick a switch, and while we were gone, we heard John and Mary say, all right, now, we're not going to take a less than 1,000 for our trade. So, let me handle this. And so that's how I learned how to sell cars, by listening to the customer's conversation. Now, the privacy laws, about 6 months later, we had to pull all that stuff out of there. But it was amazing time, man. I mean, literally, wow. Ken, 90% of the things that we did then are illegal today. And it was standard operating procedure. I mean, it was like,
oh my God.
Yeah. So,
wow.
I sold cars for a number of years. I did really well. I got a manager's job at a huge Chevrolet dealership in Akron. at 29, I ended up being able to become the general manager of that store, which I had no clue what I was doing at all.
Right.
I mean, I had 50 salesmen, and it was chaotic. I had to learn as I went. And, got hired away from there, ran a smaller group, got hired away from there, ran a pretty big group in Ohio. And then one day I saw in the automotive news that, earned 250,000. Now you got to remember this is 1988, I think.
Yeah.
Earn $250,000, travel the country, be a nationally known sales trainer. I said, okay, well, that's cool. I was just divorced. So I went out to Springfield, Missouri on my own dime, 30 days of training. And, back then we did, they were called turnaround deals, where we'd go into a dealership.
Yeah.
And we'd get paid a percentage of whatever we increased the profits. If we didn't make any money. If we did, we made a lot of money.
Right, right.
So I did that for about 4 years. That brought me to New Jersey. And as I had mentioned to you, that's where I met my future ex-wife. Yeah, that's right. And, so she suggested I probably not travel 9 months out of the year. So I partnered up with the Chapman organization. At the time, it was he, and where you buy in a little bit and this and that.
Yeah.
And so there were a lot of partners. So about 2 years in, they cut me a check, and I'd seen a system of hiring Greenpeace salespeople, but it was kind of a nasty kind of. There were a lot of gray areas. So I took it, I cleaned it up, and wrote a manual, wrote a process thing, and I started doing that, going into dealerships and interviewing, recruiting, interviewing, and then initially training Greenpeace salespeople for dealers.
Right.
And that went real well. However, there's only so many weeks in the year, so my income was pretty much predicated by the number of weeks in the year. So I thought, well, the only way to really get wealthy is on the efforts of other people. So I hired a couple guys, one of which is a minority partner of mine right now, Ernie Kasperwitz, been with me 19 years. We hired a couple more guys and a couple more guys and a couple more guys. And as of November 14th, last week, been blessed to be in business 21 years. We've been able to hold over 17,000 recruiting campaigns in the U.S., Canada, Puerto Rico, place over 165,000 men and women in the car business.
Good grief.
And not just in sales. I mean, we're probably the biggest producer of technicians in the country now,
Wow.
which is a real hard thing to do, and we finally figured it out. So we literally cover all the bases. We
Wow.
just had our annual company event, which you saw some of online.
Yeah.
We pretty much owned Facebook for a couple of days, and I had some great speakers: Troy Spring, Lisa Copeland, Matt Canning, Anthony Alagona, and Michael Cirillo. It was just awesome. But it was, and 60% at the last day. We had an awards dinner, and I had people stand up, kind of like Founders Day in Akron, if you've ever been there, with the number of years. And, it's like, who's been with me between 6 months to 2 years, and then 2 to 5. And I'd have them standing, and the applause would go. And then, it was 60% of my staff has been with me 10 years or more.
Wow.
Which there's a lot of things to be proud of in life, family and so forth.
Yeah.
But that was a real point of pride when 6 out of every 10 people you employ have been with you 10 plus years. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Dude, like that's, one of the things I saw, that's when I'm like, I got to have him on my show. Like I saw Anthony Santangelo, which I'm friends with most of the speakers you just named, right?
Right.
Let me ask everybody watching right now, share this out, would you? If you haven't shared it out, please share it out, because I wasn't able to. This software doesn't automatically tag Craig, and he's using his phone right now. So if you could share this out, that'd be awesome. Even if you already shared it, share it again. So, let's, so I saw you, I saw you giving a speech. Anthony Santangelo was on Facebook Live, and I saw you, dude. I'm gonna tell everybody, you made me cry, dude. Mm-hmm. Like, don't do that crap, man. Don't make me cry. And that's when I was like, this guy's got heart, man. I love this dude. And you told a story about your daughter, and it just reached deep, because I have two daughters, it just reached deep down inside and ripped my heart out, man. I was like, and that's so. And so far, your story has been, I kind of accidentally fell into car sales and I became a gazillionaire overnight. No, I'm kidding. Like, it sounds like it's been a pretty easy road from just the listening. And I know it hasn't been. I want to talk about some of the bumps you've hit, some of the things that you've hit in life that you were like, God, I'm not getting through this. It's over now.
Right. Well, one thing that we talked about and I shared with you this past June 10th, I celebrated my 25th year of sobriety, and as you well know, my options were pretty limited. It was either stop or die or kill somebody.
Right.
It's the old thing. I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. And,
yep.
And in my mind, there was divine intervention one day at a time over the last 25 years, I've been able to not pick up a drink. And I'm thoroughly convinced that one of those things would have happened. I would have died, killed somebody in a car, or whatever.
Right.
Nothing good would have happened.
Right.
And like literally everything changed. Different people came into my life that I believe God sent into my life and for very specific reasons and kind of formed the basis of the company, my relationships with people, and it changed me. 08 and 09 were pretty challenging.
Yes, they were.
Can you imagine during those times picking up a phone, and if they were still open for business, talking to somebody and, hey, could you use any green pea salespeople on your floor? And it was like, hello.
Right.
Are you still there? And we lost a lot of money. Like $750,000. I was paying people, so I didn't want to lay anybody off, so I was paying people out of my pocket to keep the company going, because I knew it would ultimately come around. But there were dark days. Something we didn't talk about, and I hope it's appropriate, but.
It does anything, dude. Let it all out.
There was so I belong to an amazing church, and I don't want to make this a whole God thing, but I belong to an amazing church. And one Sunday, the pastor's talking, and at the time, and this has something to do with the story, at the time, and you mentioned this car when we were on the phone earlier. I was driving it was a 2010. CLS, what was it then? A 550 in 2010 or 500 or 550? I forget. They changed the model after it first came out. But at any rate, it's $100,000 car, right? So it's like, and so I'm still thinking, I'm literally bleeding cash, and I'm driving around a $100,000 car, and the pastor says, look, we need help with a new part of the student building, and it's going to cost $100,000. He said, and I know some of you people in here drive $100,000 cars, and he looks right at me, right?
Oh, God.
And so, but he didn't know what was going on in my situation. So, I literally, Ken, literally. Now I owned 2 homes at the time, and you got a 401k and you got this and that, but to my name, I literally had $2,200 to my name, $2,200. So the next day I wrote a check for $2,000 and a letter to my pastor's wife. I explained the situation to her. I said, look, this is all I got.
Right.
But I know I'm good with it. Take it.
Yeah.
So she calls me. She said, look, we're, so grateful and so on and so forth. She said, can we do a video about this and about your giving and how the whole thing came down? I said, well, you can do that. I don't want my name mentioned. I want to, don't let the left hand know what the right hand's doing. I said, if you want to do it anonymously, that's cool. So, so the next Sunday they do, and I'm sitting, you kind of sit with the same people at church every Sunday. And so they do this video on the screen, and it was my letter, but they used actors. But everybody I'm sitting around, they hit the $100,000 car and this and that and another thing, and everyone looks at me. It's like, oh shoot, everybody knows. But here's the interesting, what I think is the interesting part of the story. That was on a Monday, and a client we hadn't done business with in 4 years called me personally, and in 2 days, blessed us with a $50,000 contract.
Yep.
Two days later.
Yep.
And there'd have to be a whole lot of people to convince me that was just coincidence. Because it wasn't, in my opinion.
No way.
And since that day, we've been blessed to, make it through the ups and downs. And, as I mentioned to you, we're looking to acquire a rather large company, that, we're going to announce probably within the next 6 to 8 weeks. And, but it's been just, and Ken, and I know that you know this, and I hope the people that are watching really fully understand this. It's not about process. It's not about promotion. It's not about product. It's all about your people.
Yep.
And I it was at least smart enough over the course of my career as a business owner to, for the most part, pick the right people to start with, and then treat them as family the whole rest of the way. And consequently, our people would do darn near anything for us. It really is a family, and that's why they stick around. It's like,
dude, I've seen it. I think Anthony Santangelo would take a bullet for you. And I know he would, in fact. And I've seen it with the other people. I don't know the rest of your team. I know Anthony. He's been on the show, and
right.
But I don't know the rest of your team, but I've seen them on video. I see the way they look at you, and one of the things that I don't want to make this all about God either, but I will, because it's my show, and if you don't like it, leave.
Right.
So I carry this little. If you can see it, it's really tattered. It's folded over. This back 30 years ago, when I was still a practicing raging alcoholic, Anthony said, "I will take 2 bullets and run through walls for Craig." So I'm sitting in church, and this pastor says, "Today you're not given to us, we're given to you." So there's an envelope in the offering plate, and this is a televised church with 3,000 people in it, right? And take the envelope and open it when I tell you to. And we all opened it, and there was a brand new $1 bill stapled to the back of this, if you can see it. And it's the scripture, Malachi 3, bring the whole tithe and offering into the storehouse, blah, 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 right? And it's just it's a reminder. Dude, I was homeless 4 different times and had this dollar bill attached to this thing in my billfold the entire time, and I never spent it. Never spent it. There were times when it was difficult for me to figure out a way to drink. I never cared about eating. I just wanted to drink when I was doing the deal, you know. But
Amen.
I never ever ever I'll give you can ask my wife. I think it drives her crazy sometimes, but I'll give the last $20 I have if I have to, you know, to help somebody else, because not because I want to be the hero, not because I want to be the big man on campus, not because of any of that, because I know in my heart of hearts, call it God, call it the creator of the universe, call it whatever you call it, just love, right? But whatever you want to call it, I know just like you do that it provides. And if you give and you help other people, man, it's going to come back to you 20-fold.
That's right. That's right. The tricky thing, and as a matter of fact, it's on my notepad. I mean, it's the last thing on my notepad for today, for my notes that I start every Monday, is just two words: give more.
Love that, man.
It's just, and it's hard sometimes, obviously, but it works, and it only works if you know we have a thing that Anthony, I love you, kid. You're awesome. I'm so grateful that you came into our lives. But we have a saying. It's something that's the first thing when we have a new hire, they have to get their heads around, or they can't work for us. And it's called Rule 10 from a gentleman by the name of Og Mandino in his book, A Better Way to Live. Mm-hmm. And it basically goes like this. Beginning today, treat every person that you come in contact with, friend, foe, loved one, or strangers, as though they're going to be dead tonight at midnight. And extend to that person all the love, care, kindness, and consideration you can muster, expecting nothing back in return. Your life will never be the same again. Wow. And if we have a new hire, I don't care how talented she or he is, if they can't intellectually accept that is a possibility and a way to live your life, they're not going to be on our team. Wow. Because that's what we'd like. That's our basic principle of operation. That's our why.
Wow.
We don't sell from what, how, and why. We try to sell from here's our why, and here's how we do it. And I believe, frankly, that if you can live that life, you know, I used to be the guy at the airline ticket counter. It's like, what do you mean my flight's scheduled? Do you know who I am? How is my flight scheduled? Or I get to the hotel with a 2:00 check-in and I'm there at 9:00 and it's, what do you mean my room's not ready? Right. And I throw a fit and act like an idiot. And frankly, if you yell and scream enough, you usually get your way, right?
Yeah.
That's the best.
Yeah.
But then you have a knot in your stomach. And then when I got sober and I got turned on to this book and that rule, because my first sponsor told me, I want you to read this like every day because you're like the worst person in the world, dude. You've got to change the way that you are.
And dude, those sponsors can be real pricks sometimes.
Oh, wow. Yeah. He really got me addicted to donuts, that son of a gun. But
yeah, right.
But then from that, it's probably one of my only original thoughts. But I came up with a phrase for us that we live by, and it goes like this. It's like, if we do what we do better than anyone else does it, someone will find a way to pay us to do it. So Instead of chasing money, we try to chase excellence, and knowing that if we do the right thing, the dealer or our client, whoever that might be, will see the value and will pay us because we excel and we frankly do it better than anyone else. But it's based, I think, on our why, not how we do it, which is just crazy important to me. And I think that's how you keep, there's not too many vendors been in the automotive space 20 plus years. So, and I'm convinced that's one of the reasons why, frankly,
Dude,
that kind of attitude.
that's incredible. So you grew up. Did you go to high school and all that in Ohio in Geauga
Yeah,
County?
yeah. I
My
went to.
wife's from right across the way from you in Erie, PA.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not too far from there. Yeah, I
yeah.
went to West Geauga High School. I was a pretty good athlete and so forth, and I got my senior year. I thought it would be a real good idea to buy a motorcycle.
Oh yeah,
And I had, a fair amount of scholarship offers to go play football at college. But one day well, long story short, I got in a motorcycle accident and it broke my leg. So I could only play 4 games my senior year. So I tried to walk on at Ohio University and ended up being a tackling dummy for a couple of weeks.
oh yeah.
So I quit, but but so I grew up there, went to high school there and, loved it. I grew up on a farm and, we had horses and,
Yeah.
which at the time I hated. And
Right.
now I would give anything to have that life back. I mean, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
It was a cool way to live. My grandparents lived on the property. It was a big farm and a working farm. I was telling a guy yesterday, there was one day we were baling hay and, it's a big, you got to get that hay in, make hay while the sun shines.
Yep.
So 2 of my buddies come out in the hayfield and all my dad would let me do was pretty much because I'd screw everything up. I took the bales of hay and threw them on the hay wagon, right? And then I'd throw them up in the loft. So my 2 buddies come and said, "Hey, dude, there's a concert somewhere in upstate New York." Now this is 1969, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, we're going to go.
Jeez.
Yeah, we're going to go up there. So let's go. So I go to my dad and he looks at me like I got 9 heads. He said, seriously? Like, no, but throw some more hay on the wagon. So,
Right.
so I go, my parents were still married at the time. So I go to my mom, of course,
Right.
hey mom. And what did dad say? Well, he said, no. Well, then get back out there and bale hay.
Right.
So my 2 buddies went to Woodstock.
Oh
And
wow.
and we're gone like a week. I think they saw Hendrix the last day and that was about it. They were so stoned and,
Yeah.
everything. And, but yeah, I didn't get to go. So
Wow.
it was, yeah.
Hey, and
But
I've said, because I grew up in farm country, not on a farm, but I definitely have baled some hay, and I'll tell you, these. No offense to any hardworking young people at all, but man, you have not experienced work until you're picking up bales of hay and throwing them on a wagon. And I'll tell you, the last time I baled hay, I was working for a farmer, actually. I was running another company he had, and he had built this beautiful office just off of his main barn. And like on the other side of my office behind me, I would sit and make cold calls and all this stuff all day. And there were sheep. You'd hear them like all day long right behind me. I'd bang on the wall, shut the heck up. Like it was crazy, man. But like, he comes running in and I lived in Dublin, but this farm was in Marysville. And so he comes running in the office one day and I have plans to leave early. I'm going to the pool, getting drunk, hanging out at my apartment, and
Right.
he's like, man, there's rain coming. We got hay laying in the field. I need your help fast. And I'm like, dude, I'm wearing swimming trunks. And I didn't really think about it. I'm like, sure, give me a pair of gloves. And I have sneakers on, swimming trunks, and a t-shirt. Dude, I had hay stuck in places you don't want hay stuck in. And it's not a joke. It hurts, man.
Yeah, that's all right. That is no joke.
'Cause you don't
take
just pick up a bale
50,
of hay.
60. Yeah, man, 56 hook and throw it up like that. That is work. That
It's
is
work.
you get a real appreciation of actual work.
Yeah, it's insane, man. So, but that's what growing up in a country environment does is it does teach you that. I grew up with no money. I mean, we had no money. And so I had to learn early, like, hey, man, you want it, you got to go earn it. You got to make it on your own.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, after my parents got divorced, my mom tried to keep the farm, and so and I was selling cars, and again, I was pretty fortunate. I was a pretty good car salesman, so I made back then made pretty good money, and tried to keep the farm and so forth. And ultimately, she had to sell it. But it's I think it's interesting if you have a legit why other than money. Like I wanted to keep the farm.
Yeah.
So by keeping the farm motivated me to, stay that extra hour, take that extra up, make that extra follow-up call,
Yeah.
Go to somebody's house, which in the old days, that's what we did. We sold cars everywhere. But that was my motivation. And I think it probably sold me another 100 cars a year just because I wanted, to help my mom.
Right.
And to stay in the place that I grew up in. It was very important to me. That was at that time my why.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's having a strong enough why. Let me ask you this, because you've been incredibly successful now. And I know that not everything's always rainbows and unicorns. But I know you've had some, I mean, you told me on a Facebook Live of Anthony's that your daughter, she had some, do you want to tell that story or no?
Well,
because that's a big challenge that you
yeah,
work through.
Yeah, short story, bottom line, she got in a car accident and has what's called TBI, traumatic brain injury, which it sounds crazy, but it's actually an epidemic in our country. There's people walking around that have TBI that don't even know it. I mean, it's like a major concussion and there's no cure. It literally destroys a part of your brain, and so the only way to improve is they try to repathway the information that the dead part of your brain can no longer handle into a part of your unused brain. So, she's an amazing human being.
Yeah.
Amazing human being. She's a single parent, which makes it even more challenging. And she works for me, and does a great job. And she's my hero. I literally, the saying, God won't give you any more than you can handle.
Right.
There's just no way I could handle what she handles day to day. She's my hero.
Dude, and I don't mean to bring up anything uncomfortable, so I apologize if I did, but
No.
I know that you have you've handled that, man, and you've been there, and I think that again, having you because you mentioned the why, and I know that's part of your why. I know
no doubt.
That's part of the why, and there's so many people that say, I've seen it and you've seen it, where people won't stop drinking even for their kids. They won't stop drinking. They won't stop. They won't stop being a jackwagon. They won't stop. When you're faced with something like that, where you have to be like, there's no option, no other option.
Nope.
You have to be your best.
Yeah, you're exactly right, and it's helped her because she's really great at her job, and she's overcome things that it's amazing. She's just an amazing person.
That's awesome.
That's about where I'm at with that. So.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, man. What do you think, in your opinion, of all the people? Because 25 years sober, I mean, at 16 years sober, I thought I was an old timer, dude. I ain't got nothing on you. But you've been through a lot. You've seen, and you've been in business 21 years. You have an amazing team, multi-million-dollar company. Like, what are some of the things that you, in your opinion, keep people stuck in life?
Stuck in a bad way?
Yeah.
When I was a kid, and my parents were on the outs a lot, my mother used to take me. We lived about 20 minutes from a place called Gates Mills, which in Hunting Valley, which is one of the richest communities in the country. And I can remember her driving up and down streets with these big Tudor mansions and oak trees, and the streets were like triple wide. And it's like, Mom, who lives in a place like that? Well, that's a doctor. And who lives there? Well, that's a lawyer. And who lives there? Well, he's a business owner. And so that stuff stuck with me. But then when I first started selling cars, my first full year selling cars was 1970. It was the end of 74, 75.
Right.
And I bought my first house, and it was a little bungalow, nice piece of property in Canton. It was $23,000 for the house. And that first year selling cars, I made $27,000. And it was like, that was all the money in the world to me. I was like, oh my God, I made $27,000.
Dude, in 1974? Jeez,
yeah.
That's a lot of money, actually.
Right, yeah. But there was a guy I worked with that made 50.
Oh, wow.
And here's the thing, and I think it's a long way to answer your question. I didn't think I was worthy of making $50,000. I didn't think I was worth it. Because the doctors make that money, the lawyers make that money, so on and so forth. And then I made 50.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I was worth 50, but am I worth 100? And that was the next stumbling block. And it's, Tony Robbins talks about the limiting beliefs that we put on ourselves as human beings.
Yeah.
And I was stuck dead in the middle of that, Ken. It was a matter of, am I willing to do what it takes? Am I willing to do things that other people in my other competitors, am I willing to do what I know they're not willing to do?
Right.
And getting over the fact that I deserve it. I deserve all the promises that we've been promised through the program.
Yeah.
I deserve the promises that God has promised us, as long as I'm doing it for good. So in my opinion, it's getting over those limiting beliefs that we grow up, it's the old thing. We're all around the kitchen table. Dad or mom brings home a business opportunity. Who's he going to talk to? The family.
Right.
It's going to take place at the kitchen table.
Yep.
What do you guys think? Now, we got generations of, hey, don't rock the boat. Maybe you can get more hours. Maybe you can go beg for a raise. Maybe we can take a second job. Maybe I this and that and another thing. And that generational negativity holds people down. We say in Automax that sometimes the people that love us the most, in order to support us and protect us, sometimes have us reject possible opportunities for advancing our lives by not letting us take the chances we need to take. It's
right.
Not that they don't love us or care about us. It's just they don't want to see us get hurt. So
they inject us with their own fears.
That's exactly right. Ken, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
So to fight through that as a leader of your family, what if it's a single parent family, that parent, it's that parent's responsibility to ingrain in their children's life that there is more.
Yes.
That you are truly capable. And I'm not talking about millennial entitlement. I'm talking about you really can be anything you want to be. You put in the effort, learn how to do it, put in the effort, establish a why, do it with passion. Don't do something that you're not passionate about just for the money. That's going to be a short-term thing. But I think to get to success, whatever that means to a person, you have got to get rid of those limiting beliefs of I'm not worth it, I'm not worthy, Yeah, I'm sure he can do it because I'm, he must have a PhD in success. Well, that's
Right.
not the case. You and
Right.
I are not, right? I mean, we're perfect examples of that.
Right.
It's like, so it's like, it's from your heart, and it's a shift of your state of mind, really. And it's a matter of thinking
Yeah.
and acting in a different way. Um,
Amen, man. Amen.
yeah. And to go one step further than that, again, it's a Robbins thing, but when I speak, and I did it at our conference here that we just had, our company meeting. I do this Tony Robbins yo clap thing, and I go into that our physiology, what we put into our bodies, how we take care of our bodies, our cells affects our psychology, how we think.
Yep.
And how we think ultimately determines our actions. So, simply put, if we feel like crap, if we're waiting for that junk truck wagon to bring in cheesesteaks at 11 o'clock in the morning at the dealership, and we're pounding down that junk, we go out that night and we have a half a dozen drinks. That's going to affect our physiology.
Yep.
Our thinking is going to go haywire. All the management, managers are stupid. They suck. Who ordered all these white cars? Who's handling the marketing here? They're dummies. And then that psychology, then when a customer comes in, is going to affect how we act. And it's just one big cycle. So, if we put better things in our body or our minds, what we watch on TV, what we read, the people that we hang around with, that all goes with it.
Yep.
So if we improve that situation, our thinking will change, and ultimately our actions will in fact follow. I'm a true believer in that. And it's been in my, I can't talk about anybody else, but in my life, it's made a huge difference. It just has made a huge difference.
I've had I'm sure you've met Grant Cardone or been
Sure.
in the same circles, and I, I'll tell you, it was 4 or 5 years ago that I didn't even know who the dude was. I wasn't in the car business, contrary to what everybody wants to think. I was, but ironically, the very first website I built professionally was for a Mercedes-Benz dealership,
Right, go figure.
that I was paid for. But that's one of the things I heard him say over and over and over and over is the number one regret that he has in life. Grant, like the man worth whoever, I don't even know how much. But the number one regret he has is that he didn't think big enough sooner.
Yeah.
Right. And
right.
dude, I'm 50 years old and I'm like, and I live in a nice house, a really, really nice house. And I think, man, all of the years that I had this, are you still there?
Yeah. Calls coming in.
Okay. Whoa, we just lost you. Hang on, we'll get him back. This is too good for all that. Hang on, let me call him right back here. Uh-oh, says he's unavailable. So, let me get him back on here. If I can, hopefully. We're getting him back. We are getting him back.
There I am.
There. Okay. I can't see you yet.
We good?
It'll come. I think it'll come on. I hear you. There you are. There you are.
Sorry about
it. That's all right. That's all right. There you go. You're a little bit cut off. If you can angle the phone down a little bit. But
yep.
It's where, what we were talking about is the limiting thinking that we have. And, I can tell you that I was just like you, man. I didn't, and it all stems back from what other people teach us, probably a lot of it, right? I'm going to call the guy out because he's he's no longer operating his dealership. But right out of high school, I left high school in 12th grade and said this isn't for me anymore. and I didn't go to college except for Ohio State University. I go down there to party and pick up chicks.
Right.
but which normally was just party. But because you get too drunk as an alcoholic. but anyway, I just lost my train of thinking, my train of thought after all that. I don't remember what I was saying. Oh my gosh.
Well, we were talking about Grant and limiting beliefs, and
anyway, it's that the limiting beliefs that we have in life are what holds us back. And the Tom Tansky is a Toyota dealer here, and so I worked at Honda out of high school at the factory, and I hated it. So about 2.5 years in, I'm like, I got to get a job in sales and make some real money. And I went to Tansky Toyota, and the dude looked at my resume, or he tested me or whatever, and he goes, you should never get into sales ever. We're not going to hire you. And I'm like, what? Why? And he's like, cuz this is not for you. Go back to Honda, keep building cars. And I was like, I don't know, like that stuck with me. Interestingly enough, I became a national sales trainer in the home security industry. But it was one of those things though, for years that it's what Tony Robbins calls the legs under the table, right? Those negative affirmations that'll just destroy a person, if they allow it. And I allowed it for a long time, but I also use that negativity to excel. Like, tell me I can't do something and watch.
Yeah, right. That is a real motivator, isn't it?
For me, it
really is. Yeah, I agree. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
It's interesting. We, we literally receive hundreds of thousands of resumes and applications every year. And, with a 3.7 unemployment rate, we're not dealing with, in the old days, we were dealing with a lot of unemployed people.
Yeah.
What we're dealing with now are people that are looking for better employment, which is a little tougher find, but obviously a better hire, generally speaking, for the dealer. But one of the first things we have to get through to these people is that the car business is not like you see on TV on a sitcom.
Right.
I mean, it's like, it doesn't have to be done that way. The first thing that we talk about in our classes is don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
So our trainers will stand up and say, okay, so how old am I? How much money do I make? How much is my credit? What's my credit score? What kind of car do I drive? Am I married? Am I single? Did I go to college? Just by looking at me, tell me who I am.
Yeah.
And then they pass all the paperwork, and of course, then it's never even close.
Right.
And so the point is, now look at each other. What do you people look like? Well, you look like the customers that are going to be walking into this dealership. So I'm the only one in here who looks like a car salesman. Right?
Right.
So it's like, so let's get that out of the way first. You all can be car salesmen. Then we go into the Rule 10, dead at midnight.
Yeah.
Because this is the way we want your clients to be treated, because they're not going to be treated that way by your competitors.
Right.
So we try to take all the negative connotations of the business away from these people right from jump.
Yeah.
Because what's going to happen is that night they're going to go home, and somebody, husband, wife, brother, sister, girlfriend, boyfriend, aunt, uncle, significant other, is going to say, so how was your first day of training?
Right.
Well, wow, this is all like life skills stuff, man. We didn't even learn anything about cars today. It was like, I think I can do this. It's like, this could be the thing that we've been looking for our whole lives. It has nothing to do with selling a car. It's all about changing a person's state. And I think that's very important when we're when we're doing something like this, at least in our business, that's where we start is getting their minds in a different direction that you can in fact be successful. And this is excuse the pun, a vehicle under which we can help you, assist you to make that happen. And we've been just so fortunate. I was talking to somebody yesterday on the phone. It's like a guy called me and that I personally trained 18 years ago, and he just bought his first dealership. And it's
wow.
like, the guy was working in a factory from 11 to 7 at night. He would come into my training class at 9:30, right?
Wow.
For 5 days. The dealer hired him, that I was retained by. And, it's 18 years later, but the guy buys himself a dealership. I mean, it's like,
dude, that's awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, we have actually like a lot of stories like that just because of the sheer volume of business we've done.
Yeah.
But, and money's important. Don't let me get crazy here, but I tell you what, man, you put X amount of dollars in front of me or that story.
Yep.
I'm going to be telling that story a lot more than the money.
I love that, man. There's a guy on here named Bradley Ingalls says, Craig is the reason for my success in the car business. Thanks, Automax. So, dude, that's what it's about, man. That's what that is. Like, you can have, I know a guy that was the wealthiest, and this is not a made up story. It's true. I'm not going to mention names because it's just too close, but the wealthiest man in the county that he lived in Ohio, and he developed an illness and he was laying on his deathbed, and his son, who was probably the second wealthiest man in this county, said, well, Dad, when you pass, what do you want me to do with this investment and that investment and this one you have and this one and this one? And he finally interrupted him. He said, look, do whatever you want with them. I don't care. I'm not taking it with me. I don't care.
Right?
Let's talk about real life. So,
right.
and I'm telling you, the guy was worth millions and millions and millions. So,
yeah.
and he just, when you're at the end of your life, you're not going to care how much money you have you're just not. I want to take care of my family. I want to know that my wife and my daughters are taken care of. But dude, that's not what gets me out of bed every morning.
Right.
That's not what it's about.
No, and it's the Bradley guy you mentioned. At my funeral, I'd like to have a lot of people stand up and say, this guy wasn't a car salesman. This guy didn't own a recruiting company. This guy helped change people's lives. And that's more important to me than anything.
That's incredible. So let me ask you this, and we're at the end of the hour. Holy moly.
Oh, wow.
Scott Simons, Frank Lopes, they're on here. Wow.
Scott's awesome.
Scott is amazing, man.
And Frank is my man. Frankie's the best, man.
He is, man. I love Frank. So let me ask you this. I ask this question of every guest on the show. I had the wonderful opportunity of having a vehicle repossessed in front of all of my employees once. That was awesome. I literally thought about quitting my own company that day. But like somebody fire me, man. I need to get. But everybody was getting paid except for me, right? So you fell behind. But anyway, so if somebody called you up and they said, man, life is horrible. My electric's getting shut off tomorrow. My car was repossessed last week. I can't feed my family. I'm doing everything I know how to do. I'm stuck and I don't know what to do. What are you going to say to that person? Because, dude, that can get you, and I've been there, it can get you to a real dark place. And, what do you say to that person to help them right there get over the hump, to help them, go, man? Because there is light. You know that. I know that. There is light at the end of the tunnel, even though it may be pitch black.
Yeah. Well, my first thought is I got to revert back to the people that ultimately ended up saving my life 25 years ago. I would share my story. with that person.
Yeah.
What it was like, what happened, and what it's like now, and what's available to him or her, and see if that would at least get a dialogue going to where I could help them head in the right direction. And I have kind of the cheat code because I'm in the ability to be able to take a person like that and put them in a car dealership,
right?
And really change, make generational changes, which is really very, very important. But I think sharing, how it was, what happened, and what it's like now for me, that way that person knows you're not full of crap.
Right.
And you're just quoting them a bunch of motivational stuff that, you can find on Google anywhere.
Right.
So, but, if I'm sitting there with another human being, I'm hoping that something I say resonates with them.
Yeah.
And that the feelings, because that's what people really buy into. People don't buy our products, services, or ideas. And what we're talking about here is an idea.
Right.
They buy how they imagine using that idea will make them feel. So I think if you can talk to a person's feelings, I think it goes a long way into being able to effectively change the direction of their life. Give them opportunity. And again, I'm blessed to be in a position where I can give literally anybody an opportunity. I mean, we are in 2019, we have a real emphasis on getting veterans hired. I mean, a big emphasis on that, and women.
Wow,
in
that's
the
freaking
car
awesome,
business.
dude.
And I, it would turn me on to, just, I don't know, to take any story. Single female parent, 3 kids, husband leaves, not doing the right thing. And we can get her hooked up. And next thing you know, she's buying her first house. She's upgrading her car. She's putting money away for her kids for school. They don't have to wear the same tattered clothes every day. That, whatever we make on that deal with the dealer, that's one thing. But knowing that we could effectively change the direction of a person and a whole family's life is, it's a big reward. It's a big reward, and it's important. And it's something that, I think it fuels our company. It's not, what we do, there is a science to it, and we're really, really good at it.
Right.
But I think the reason whatever success we've been blessed to have really comes from where we start with our why, and that's, things we've already discussed with the Rule 10 and so forth. So I get that'd be my best answer. Let
me ask you this. First, let me say, from the bottom of my heart, my existence, I am so freaking grateful that I reached out to you and asked you to be on this show, man, because you are amazing. You're an amazing human doing. I won't call you a human being because you are a human doing. I love it, dude. You're amazing.
Thank you so much. And I feel the same about you. It's just amazing. All the things that we share are just mind blowing. So
it's crazy.
It is a legit honor to spend this time with you. I really appreciate it.
So let me ask you, first off, how can everybody follow you?
Oh, okay. Well, we're pretty much everywhere. Facebook, Craig Lockard. We have a couple fan pages there, Automax Recruiting or Automax Recruiting and Training. Twitter. We have I use LinkedIn a lot, so we have a huge following on LinkedIn, both company and privately. I just started into Instagram. Our website, Automax Recruiting and Training.com. And I don't know how many people do this, and I don't care, but my cell number is 609-517-1152. And if you need me, and if there's any possible way I can help, I'll help. It's pretty much as simple as that. So
I love it, man. That's unbelievable. We just had the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company give out his cell phone number. So there you go.
Yeah.
That's incredible, dude. But it doesn't shock me. Like I can just tell, man. You're an amazing dude. So I don't have. I mean, I could go all day talking to you, man. So,
yeah, same here.
Everybody on here be like, there'd be one person left here in a little bit. But listen, I really appreciate it. I think I really hope that we have a long-term friendship coming, man. You're a good dude.
I have a feeling that'll happen. Actually, in a couple months, my daughter lives in Clintonville, which is not far from you, where you used to live.
Yeah, I used to live down there.
So let's do this. I'll be there in a couple months, and you and I go break some bread while I'm there.
Definitely,
if you're available.
Definitely, I'm in, man. Let's do it. I love it, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being on the show. And look, if there's any way I could ever help you out in any way, I would, and just reach out. Anthony knows how to get a hold of me too. So thank you so much. Thank you to everybody that's been on the show. Thank you to everyone. Been on here today. Yeah, my wife's on here. She said, "Wow, come visit." So,
that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. So
thank you.
All right, listen, thank you guys. We'll see you guys, I think, Monday. Thank you. Don't hang up, Craig.
Okay.
All right. See you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.